Have you ever wondered how your mind makes decisions? Daniel Kahneman, a Nobel Prize-winning psychologist, explores this question in his book. Kahneman's work revolutionized our understanding of how we think. He showed that our minds have two distinct systems for processing information. Kahneman calls these System 1 and System 2. System 1 is fast, intuitive, and emotional. It operates automatically, effortlessly guiding us through routine tasks and quick judgments. System 2, on the other hand, is slow, deliberate, and logical. It requires effort and concentration, engaging when we solve complex problems or make critical decisions. Understanding these two systems is crucial for making better decisions in all aspects of life. System 1 is the part of our brain that works on autopilot. It's constantly scanning our environment, making snap judgments, and guiding our actions without conscious thought. Imagine driving a car on a familiar route. You don't need to consciously think about steering or braking. This automatic response is System 1 at work. This system relies on mental shortcuts called heuristics to quickly process information and make decisions. These shortcuts are generally helpful, allowing us to navigate the world efficiently. However, they can also lead to predictable errors in judgment, known as cognitive biases. These biases influence our perceptions, beliefs, and decisions, often without our awareness. System 2 is the analytical, problem-solving part of our brain. It requires effort and focus to engage. System 2 allows us to think critically, analyze complex information, and make deliberate choices. This system is engaged when we solve a math problem, learn a new language, or plan for the future. It helps us weigh pros and cons, consider long-term consequences, and make more informed decisions. However, System 2 is lazy and prefers to avoid effort. It often relies on the quick judgments of System 1, even when those judgments may be biased. Understanding when and how to engage System 2 is crucial for overcoming our biases and making more rational decisions. Our reliance on System 1 can lead to predictable errors in judgment, known as cognitive biases. These biases are mental shortcuts that our brains use to make quick decisions, but they often lead us astray. One such bias is the anchoring effect, where we rely too heavily on the first piece of information we receive, even if it's irrelevant. This initial piece of information acts as an anchor, influencing our subsequent judgments and decisions. For example, a high initial price for a used car can anchor our perception of its value, making us more likely to overpay. Even if we know the initial price is inflated, it still affects our judgment. Another common bias is the availability heuristic. This bias occurs when we judge the likelihood of events based on how easily examples come to mind. This bias makes us overestimate the likelihood of events that are easily recalled, often because they are vivid or emotionally charged. Dramatic news stories, for instance, can make rare events seem more common than they are. For example, after watching a news report about a plane crash, we might overestimate the likelihood of dying in a plane crash, even though flying is statistically much safer than driving. The vivid images and emotional impact of the news story distort our perception of risk. Confirmation bias also skews our thinking. This bias leads us to seek out information that confirms our existing beliefs while ignoring evidence that contradicts them. It creates an echo chamber where our views are constantly reinforced. This bias leads us to seek out information that confirms our existing beliefs while ignoring evidence that contradicts them. Social media algorithms often exacerbate this by showing us content that aligns with our views. It reinforces our biases, making it difficult to change our minds even when presented with compelling evidence to the contrary. Overcoming these biases requires conscious effort and critical thinking, but it's essential for making more rational decisions. Section 5. The power of framing. How information is presented or framed can significantly influence our choices, even when the underlying options are the same. This is known as the framing effect. For example, people are more likely to choose a medical treatment described as having a 90% survival rate than one with a 10% mortality rate, even though these are just two ways of framing the same statistic. The way we frame decisions for ourselves and others can have a profound impact on the choices made. Recognizing the power of framing is essential for making rational decisions and understanding how others might perceive the same information differently. Section 6. Loss aversion, feeling the pain more. Loss aversion is a powerful cognitive bias that influences our decisions under uncertainty. It is a concept rooted deeply in behavioral economics and psychology. It describes the tendency for people to feel the pain of a loss more strongly than the pleasure of an equivalent gain. This means that losing something of value can have a more significant emotional impact than gaining something of the same value. For example, the pain of losing $100 is often felt more intensely than the joy of winning $100. This phenomenon can be observed in various aspects of life, from financial decisions to personal relationships. This aversion to loss can lead to risk-averse behavior, where individuals make decisions to avoid potential losses, even if those decisions come at the expense of potential gains. People might avoid investing in stocks, starting a new business, or even making significant life changes due to the fear of potential losses. Understanding loss aversion is crucial for making sound financial decisions, negotiating effectively, and understanding why people sometimes make seemingly irrational choices. By recognizing this bias, individuals can work towards making more balanced and informed decisions, ultimately leading to better outcomes in both personal and professional aspects of life. Section 7. The illusion of understanding. We often overestimate our understanding of the world and our ability to predict future events. This overestimation can lead us to make decisions with undue confidence, believing that we have a grasp on the complexities of the world around us. This is known as the illusion of understanding. It's a cognitive bias that tricks us into thinking we know more than we actually do. This illusion can be particularly dangerous in fields that require precise forecasting and planning. We construct narratives to explain past events, but these narratives often fail to account for the role of chance and randomness. Our minds are wired to seek patterns and causality, even where none exist. Hindsight bias, a manifestation of the illusion of understanding, leads us to believe that past events were more predictable than they actually were. We convince ourselves that we knew it all along, even when the outcomes were far from certain. We often look back on events and say, "I knew it all along," even when we had no prior knowledge or insight. This retrospective confidence can distort our perception of our own predictive abilities. This bias can lead to overconfidence in our ability to predict future events, making us more likely to make poor decisions. Overconfidence can be particularly detrimental in high-stakes environments such as financial markets or strategic business planning. The planning fallacy is another example of our overconfidence. We tend to underestimate the time, effort, and resources needed to complete tasks and projects, often leading to missed deadlines and budget overruns. We often underestimate the time, effort, and resources needed to complete tasks and projects. This underestimation can result in stress, burnout, and a failure to meet expectations. This bias stems from our tendency to focus on the best-case scenario, while neglecting potential challenges and delays. By recognizing these cognitive biases, we can take steps to mitigate their impact and make more informed decisions. Section 8. Taming our mental shortcuts. While our brains are wired for efficiency, our cognitive biases can lead to systematic errors in judgment and decision-making. The good news is that by understanding these biases, we can learn to mitigate their influence. One effective strategy is to slow down our thinking and engage System 2. When faced with an important decision, take the time to carefully consider all available information, weigh the pros and cons, and challenge your initial assumptions. Another helpful technique is to seek out diverse perspectives and consider viewpoints that differ from your own. This can help you identify blind spots, challenge your biases, and make more informed decisions. Section 9. Thinking smarter, living better. Understanding the dual nature of our thinking, the interplay between our intuitive System 1 and our deliberate System 2, is crucial for making sound judgments and avoiding common cognitive pitfalls. By recognizing our biases, questioning our assumptions, and engaging our analytical minds, we can make more rational choices, navigate uncertainty more effectively, and ultimately live more fulfilling lives. Remember, our minds are powerful tools, but like any tool, they can be used effectively or ineffectively. By understanding how our minds work, we can harness their power to make better decisions, achieve our goals, and live more fulfilling lives.